Welcome back to our Puredata tutorial. So in this class, we'll switch to a new topics. So the topics of using audio or sound in Puredata. And the first example, we'll try to have a look or have a hearing of the sound from an external sound file. So this is a WAV file or an AIF file. First of all, so we can try to listen to what is this particular sound file. I'll use the VLC to playback it. So that's this original sound from this particular sound file called toilet flush.wav. So in order to use or to hear the sound from the Puredata, we have to enable some things. The first thing we need to enable is this particular button or checkbox called Compute Audio. So if you do not check this particular checkbox, there won't be any audio you can hear from the playback of your Puredata patch. And the second way we need to do is perform some of the audio setting from the preference menu. So within the audio setting, you have to choose, for example, the sound output devices. If you have more than one sound output devices, you need to choose from here. And in case when we work on with sound input, for example, through a microphone, we can also choose the sound input device over here. And another thing you need to pay attention is within the audio setting, there's something we call the sample rate over here. So it's the default indicate 44 kilohertz. So you have to match your sound file setting. For example, if you are using, for example, the sampling rate for your sound file like 44, so that will be okay for here. So if you are using other sampling rate like the 22 kilohertz, you may have trouble when you work on with your audio playback. So it's necessary for you to match the sampling rates of all those sound files you would like to use in this particular patch. The patch we are going to use is very simple and straightforward. So we use only one single object called the read sound file, readsf. And you can also see the title over here. So every object which handle audio information or audio signal come with this particular shape. And this one will try to playback a sound file and then send the sound information to the speaker system or audio system. And in order to playback the sound, we also need to have one essential object called the DAC. So D is digital, A is analog. So DAC is digital to analog conversion. If we take a look of this particular object, readsf or read sound file, so it's come with other parameters. So we are going to use, for example, open the sound location and start or stop. You can either use start stop as the English word or 1 or 0. And within the readsf, we will put one more parameter. This is the number of channels you would like to use. So usually when you're playing back stereo audio information, you use 2. The last outlet of the readsf will be an indicator which will show you whether the sound file is already played to the end. So once the sound file ends, it will trigger a bang action over here. So you can put a bang right here in order to indicate, for example, whether your sound files reach the end. So the open message will open that particular sound file. And the start message will start to play back the sound file. The stop message will stop the playback. You can actually do not need to wait until the end of the sound file. You can just press the stop message to stop the playback immediately. So you make sure you have checked the compile audios over here, and then once everything is done, you can start by, for example, open the sound file and then start the playback. Or you can also stop immediately. So if you want to see the playback of the whole sound file till the end, and which will trigger this particular bang, you can try it out. So note the bang action over here when it reaches the end of the sound file. And you also need to pay attention. There's some sequence of pressing those messages. So the first thing is the open, and the second is start, and the last thing will be stop. So in order to create one single operation of pressing all those messages, you can, for example, put a trigger. In this case, I'll use just one single button for the bang, and it will propagate two bang actions. The first one is from the right outlet. It will go to the open message, and the second one will be the start, and it will make sure the order will be in the proper sequence. So the other one will be the stop. And if I test by pressing this particular bang button a couple of times, you can hear the response like this one. Sometimes it can be quite annoying. For example, if you have an action to trigger this particular button to play the sound response. For example, if you are using, for example, those we have done in the last exercise, like the color tracking. So imagine you have some action will trigger continuously the changes or the sending out the bang action when you would like to have the response like this particular sound file. So it's kind of annoying if you have continuous pressing of this particular button. So in some of the case, we would like, for example, to wait until the end of this file, and then we would enable the pressing of this button again. So for example, if I press it and I want it to stop before I can press the button again. So in that case, we will try to add one more control between this button and the trigger action. And this is the speed gauge object we have come across in the last exercise. The second inlet from the speed gauge will be a toggle, which is values of either 0 or 1. So a value of 0 will disable this particular band to be sent out from the first inlet to the outlet. So if this one is 1, so this is a cross, it will enable the passing of the signal from the inlet to the outlet. So in this case, we will make use of this facility, whether we would like to put a 1 or 0 in this particular toggle box in order to enable or disable the passing of the band signal. If I would like to enable the passing of the band signal, I will put a 1 over here. And if I would like to disable, I will put a 0 over here. And then you have to determine under which circumstances or situation you would like to put a 1 or 0 over there. So the thinking or the logic is that once you start the playback of this particular sound file, you would like to disable this particular button immediately until it reaches the end of the sound file, and you would like to enable it again. So the logic will be, once you start to press to playback this particular file, you would like to disable. So in that case, we will put one more band trigger over here, and then I would like to do a send over here, which is indicate this start. So in that case, if I press this button, and if the message can be sent out through the speed gauge object to the trigger, it will trigger the three operations: one to send out this message, and the second one to open the file, and the last one start playback of the sound file. And this one, I would like to use it to disable this particular toggle box. So in this case, I will do a receive over here. And once I receive the message from here, I will put a 0 in this particular toggle box. Once it is a 0, no matter how many times I press this particular band button, the signal will not be routed to the next level. And you also need to think about how you would like to reset this particular one. So in order to enable the button again, I need to wait until the end of the playback of this file, and which is indicated by this particular button. And in this case, I'll do a send again, and this indicates the end of the playback, and I can re-enable the button again by putting a receive right here to send out a 1 message to the toggle box. So in the very beginning, you have to make sure that this one is 1, such that you can have a chance to pass the message in the very beginning, like this one. So when it reaches the end, it will send out a message, a band over here, and it will trigger the one to be sent out over here. And if I, for example, press this one again and again, you can hear the effect. So no matter how many times I press this one when the file is playing, so there won't be any message passed from the speaker to the trigger command, so which is disabled by this particular one through the zero message over here. And you can also improve this one by putting one more object called the low band. So that's the indicator of the beginning of the page. For example, when you first open the page, you would like to put a 1 immediately into the toggle box rather than the default 0. So in that case, you are pretty sure that in the very beginning you have a 1 over here, and then you can enable this button in the very beginning of the operation of this particular page. So in this exercise, we try to explore the use of the audio information in Puredata page. We use the readsf command to playback a sound file, and you can have the WAV or AIF file over here for the playback. And we use the start to enable and then stop to disable the playback of the sound. And we make use of the triggers and the speaker command to make sure that at any point of time you have only one sequence of this sound is playing back, and we disable the continuous pressing of this button during the playback of the sound. So this is the first trial of using audio in Puredata.